Hey folks, Joe Valley here. Welcome to another episode of the Quiet Light podcast. This episode is going to be a recap of the last 12 months of 2021. And I've got a special guest. Well, a co-host? I don't know what you are anymore because you never show up for podcasts. What are you? Who are you?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm not special. So I'm just a guest at this point. I think we can officially put me into the guest category because it's been 8 months or so since I've hosted an episode. So we'll just say guest.
Yet, go ahead. You still have one of the top podcasts of the year, even though you only did it naturally. Yes.
Although you sent the list over and I couldn't identify which one it was.
It's all a blur. 2021 was a blur. For those that don't recognize the voice, guys, it's Mark. Okay. Hey, Mark Daoust,
I'm back.
Original founder of Quiet Light. He's back, at least for this episode. He's been very busy being our CEO, doing lots of different stuff in a very, very busy year. So let's talk about the year. Was it busy, Mark? What was 2021 like?
It absolutely was busy. I think I saw somewhere that this has been the hottest M&A market in the history of M&A, or at least since 2007, which is also when I started Quiet Light Brokerage. So it's been a very busy year. It's been a good year. Those that have any proximity to this industry are seeing the same thing and hearing the same thing. So it's been a good year for the M&A market, good year for buyers, good year for sellers. As a company, we've grown like crazy this year. We've added a lot of numbers to our team, a lot of bodies to the team, but not just throwing bodies. These people are awesome. It's been a year of what is the phrase? You cast the bait when the fish are biting. Well, there was a lot of fish biting this year. It was a good year for us. So absolutely.
Yeah, it's good, and there's a certain level of burnout that the team is feeling as well because there's been so many transactions flowing and leads flowing that you can just get worn out. I mean, I did it for almost a decade, and near the end, I was pretty damn tired. So I don't want to complain about amazing stuff because we had an incredible year. Just looking at the numbers over here, we closed $250 million in transactions, if we include the inventory, in the last 12 months. What is your prediction, Mark, in terms of Quiet Light closing $1 billion in a 12-month period? When do you think that'll be?
That's a good question. Every time I make a prediction, I tend to put it farther out than it actually occurs. If you had told me last year, on this date last year, what do you think you will close in 2021? I probably would have said 125 million, maybe 150 million if things fall the right way. But lo and behold, we're at 250 million for the year. So when do we close $1 billion? Let me take my instinctual Mark prediction and say, 2026, 2027. And what will probably happen is it'll probably be not next year, but the year after at the rate that we've been growing. We'll see, of course. There's been a couple of things that have been occurring, Joe, within the company here. And that is the volume of transactions that we're closing are growing. So we've done more transactions this year than we've done in years prior. We have never set out to be a high volume broker. Like that was never our goal. We just want to do high quality deals that we find interesting, deals that we think are a great fit for the marketplace. We've never been a volume player, but this year we've closed over 100 transactions. So that is a high watermark for us in that regard. And the average value of our transactions is definitely ticking up pretty significantly as well. Whereas before we were a little uncomfortable, kind of a babe in the woods when it came to the middle market. We're definitely far more comfortable working middle market deals at this point, have a lot of really good connections there. And I can see that part of the business growing rapidly. So that combination, a larger deal size plus higher volume, doesn't take a math genius to know that's going to result in a higher total deals closed over the course of a year.
Yeah. If we go back to 2012, when I joined the team, we'd have to pull up the numbers. It's such a blur way back then, but the average transaction size was, somewhere probably in the $100,000 to $125,000 range. And we might've closed $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million in revenue tops.
Well, I remember you hung your hat for a while on the fact that you closed $15 million of business within a year. right? And that was for our industry at the time. That was a big deal. I mean, it was kind of an eye-popping number. This past year, we've had more than one person close that in a month.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Right. I mean, that's happened multiple times to multiple people. So it's a product. Let me ask you, why do you think this is? What's driving this?
Well, we're all growing up in the industry, right? A decade ago, it was new, fresh, unknown, not stable, and back then there were lots of ways to lie, cheat, and mirrors and smoke your way to the top of rankings. Well, Google fixed that. Amazon's gotten a lot smarter as well. And so the businesses that are being built are real legitimate businesses by real grownups, and their perceived value and legitimate value has risen. There's also a lot more competition. And of course, 2021 really drove, the numbers went really crazy because people like my father, who's 85 years old, now shops online. And so, people's revenue went way up compared to, pre-pandemic numbers. Back to the numbers here. I was just looking, $250 million in transactions. I think you're right. I wouldn't be surprised by us announcing in 2025 that we closed $1 billion in transactions. I'm not sure how painful that will be for you and me. We added 4 new advisors in 2021, Elaine, Ethan, Ryan, and Paul. And Pat had just joined.
You forgot John.
John, right? Because John just joined.
John just joined.
It's funny because I was writing these down, and I'm like, okay, yeah, 4. No, you're right. John
5,
just joined. So 5 advisors in 1 calendar year. And I think it took us 4 years to add 5 advisors from 2012 to 2017.
Yeah. And I think what's an important thing to note is we are not of the growth for growth's sake mindset. I think both you and I have resisted growth in many ways because what's interesting for me personally is more of, do we have a good business? Are we doing good deals? I don't want to pursue growth just for the sake of growth. Now, I'm not opposed to growth, of course. It's fun. It produces new challenges, and obviously it gives us more flexibility to do things that we wouldn't otherwise be able to do. The growth that we've seen, though, adding 5 advisors. Why did we add 5 advisors? Because we have to. The demand is growing, and the number of businesses coming to market has grown, and so we've had that need to be able to add those advisors. We've been just incredibly fortunate to find the people that we have found for these roles. I mean, every time we bring a new advisor on, I'm waiting. This sounds bad. I'm waiting for that drop off, right? I joke about my kids. If those listeners that don't know, I have 8 kids, and people ask how many will you have, and I just tell them we'll keep having kids till we have an ugly one. Well, we'll keep adding advisors till we get a bad one, and so far we haven't. So the talent there is just off the charts. Good.
Yeah, it is, and we grew. For people that didn't listen to the year-end review last year, we're up way over 100% in total closed transactions. The average transaction size is now just under $2.3 million. And what's really interesting is what the year was like in terms of buyer frenzy. We've had an average of 3.7 offers on every single listing. Or should I say median? Is that a median number or an average number, Mark? You put
That's
this
a
together.
median. That's a median.
Yeah. The really interesting deal, the statistic I think here is the referred deals. And this goes to our process and belief of not growing for growth's sake, but trying to do it right, making sure we're taking care of the client and the process and the entire flow. Our referred deals, meaning I close a transaction, I sell through Quiet Light. I liked it so much. I tell some folks in my mastermind, I send Mark an email introduction. I say, hey, Mark, John's thinking about selling his business. I think you guys are the right crew to do it. And then you take it and you run with it. And then eventually, if you close that transaction, you actually decided to pay me a referral fee. 54% of our total closed transactions are from people that like us, which is just stunning. I think it's amazing. Why do we have a CMO? Why do we have a marketing department? We should shift everything Tell Chris his new job is just working on referral stuff. He doesn't listen to the podcast, does he?
Oh, if he does, we can just tell him, Chris, this is your notice. We're taking out of the CMO role, and you are now just a referral. No, absolutely. It's the funny thing is I know this sounds like really nice marketing speak. It sounds like a nice PR thing to say, but I'm always flattered when we get a referral coming in. I mean, there's definitely choices out in the market, and I get that, and I guess, you can refer people to any of the companies in the industry. When somebody chooses us to refer, it's an extension of their reputation that they're entrusting to us. And I think that's just, first of all, really cool, very flattering, and it puts an onus on us. It puts a responsibility on us to make sure that we treat that referral very, very well, so that we're not obviously damaging our reputation, but more importantly, the person that stuck their neck out for us as well, to refer somebody that they know and that trusts them. So I love that. That number has grown pretty significantly over the past year. I think we were around 26% last year. So it's essentially doubled over the past 12 months. And I would love to see it continue to grow. One of my favorite payments to send out are those referral payments. And I look at it and I think, boy, that was a rich introduction, right? You send somebody a $50,000 wire for sending an email. It's not a bad gig if you can get it.
And the funny thing is that we never really promote or talk about the referral program very much. Of course, we're doing
until
it
now,
here.
I guess.
Yeah. Right. And so sometimes it's really fun. Who was it? Bjork, right? From Food Blogger Pro. We paid for his kid's college. He made an email introduction. He had no idea that we had a referral program. And eventually we closed the transaction and we sent him a whole bunch of dough.
Because he's such a good guy. Initially, he was saying, no, don't worry about a referral fee. I didn't tell him how much it was. And then Chris Guthrie reached out to him and said, hey, here's how much we want to send you. And he said, oh my gosh, I didn't know this was like pay for your kid's college sort of referral fee. Holy cow. Okay, you can send me that money.
Yeah, that's a fun number. The other is the deal size. Like I just said, just under 2.3. And this is part of the reason for our total closed transaction growth, right? Our total number of transactions grew by about 37% over the year. Oh, and now I have to do the numbers for the actual dollar value. I didn't do that yet. Mark, grab your calculator. We went from just under 1.6 million in median deal size in 2020 to 2.3 million median deal size in 2021. So the numbers are getting bigger. People are getting better with their businesses. And we'll talk about multiples too. Multiples are going up as well. Did you do that number yet, Mark?
Which number do you want me to do?
No, forget it. People are beyond that now. All right.
They are.
Yeah. It's gone up about 50%, folks. The average deal size went up about 50%. The other thing is, why did it go up about 50%? In 2021, the multiple, this is without inventory for the e-commerce side. There's plenty of businesses, probably about 55, 60% of our total closed transactions are e-commerce. The balance are SaaS content, a little bit of service in there as well. But we're 3.5 multiple. I think if you add inventory in there, it's probably going to pop up to about a 4-time multiple, compared to 2020, which was a 2.85 multiple. So it's gone up, a half a point plus a quarter. It's a pretty significant jump. Our time to closing, Mark?
Hold on. Can I just interject here? And I'm going to give a standard disclosure I always give. People keep in mind multiples are a different measuring stick from one company to the next. The way we measure multiples is a little more pessimistic than other people, but the average deal values are equivalent or more than what other firms get. So we like to talk about cash in people's pocket as opposed to cash that might be in somebody's pocket someday.
Yeah. That's absolutely true. None of these numbers include inventory for inventory-based businesses. That's sort of the big caveat.
And many of them don't include the full earnouts that might be included here. So again, we take a little more pessimistic number than it's the athlete's contract, right? You signed $100 million contract. Well, no, he's going to get 9 or 10 and might get the other 90, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We take that 9 or 10. Anyway, sorry, keep going.
Exactly. No, you're absolutely right. In 2020, it took 123 days on average, or median days, to close a transaction from the time it's listed to the time it closes and money changes hands. 2021, it dropped to 103 days, which is pretty amazing.
Let's talk about that for a minute, because this is one of the more misleading statistics that we have. And if you were to actually graph this out in like a plot chart, so you just have a bunch of scattered dots on the chart, what you would see is you would see one grouping around 30 to 45 days. And then you would see a smattering along a spectrum about 120 days out. What is that? That's the balance of deals that are being done through the SBA versus cash deals. With 2021 being sort of the year of the aggregator, with a lot more aggregator-based deals being done, those are obviously cash buyers, and private equity as well. Cash buyers, private equity is not going to be that fast, but or other cash buyers. It may not be an aggregator. It might be somebody who has maybe understands they need to compete on a cash basis, so they raised funds. They can close faster. An SBA being largely preoccupied with the PPP loans and everything else going on with the pandemic, there was not as high of a balance there. So it's a two-hump camel, or two different spots. The 103, we don't have a lot that actually close at about 103. So it's a misleading statistic in that way. But I do think the data is interesting to look at to see the balance, the shift of the market towards more cash deals this year.
Totally agree. And I'm just trying to understand what a two-hump camel is. I'm going to have to just sort of Google that and see what it looks like. Maybe my son will have to draw it for me.
There you go.
All right. Did I cover this already? An average of 3.75 offers per listing. I did. I wanted to go to deals above asking price. This is an interesting one, and I want your take on it, Mark. In the last 12 months, we've had 61% of our transactions have closed at or above asking price. No, I take it back. Let me do the math. It's actually 66% when we combine them, at or above asking price. Are we listing things too low?
Maybe that some are too low. If I could be very honest, I think the market has moved quickly this year, and multiples have definitely increased. However, one of the big fallacies that occurs, or a pitfall that can occur for a seller when they list their business for sale, let's say I've listed business for sale for $1 million. Those first 3 to 4 weeks is when you have the most pricing leverage with that business, right? Because you have the most interest from buyers. And so buyers know they have to make competitive offers, especially in a competitive marketplace. What happens oftentimes is buyers will come in with a price higher than what you're looking at, what your asking price is, because they know it's competitive, right? And so they want to win that deal. From a seller's perspective, the instinct could be, oh my gosh, we priced this too low. When the reality might be somewhere in the middle, right? It's often in the middle and is an indication of we actually priced this in a way that gathered a lot of buyer interest and provided you with the proper pricing leverage to be able to get the market to do what the market wants to do, and that's provide you pricing leverage. So I think, are we pricing things too low? I think is a conversation worth having. I know we've had it internally to see what the team thinks about that, but I think for the most part, we're pricing deals competitively, and the buyer interest has just been pushing things up, which is great. What do you think?
I think if you price it too high, like you said, if it wanes, stays there as a stale listing, it's the price is going to come down a little bit. Every couple of years when I was brokering, I had a tendency to go, okay, this is the year I'm going to push these multiples. And the buyers would usually just slap me upside the head and say no. And I'd get crickets on that listing. I don't know if this is a different time, a different year when it's like, okay, let's push these up a little bit or not. The basic question, do I think we're listing things too low? I think there may be situations where that does happen, but the buyers tell us that by bidding up the list price. I think if we went too high, buyers would be like, yeah, they're crazy. I'm going to go in with a really low offer and just hope to meet in the middle, which is an old school approach. I think we're doing it right. It's working out incredibly well. And I'm going to read an email that wound up in my inbox. And I'm not going to tell you who sent it, but it was from an aggregator. And it says, the joke on our acquisition team is everyone and their grandmother is going to see Quiet Light listings. So why compete? We want to see details before they go live, especially the ones that are 5 million or higher. Other brokers give us at least 1 week to see large deals so that we know we're not competing against everyone on the deal. What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on that, Mr. Daoust?
If I were a buyer, I would love 1 week of no competition. So I mean, it sounds like a great situation for them, and congratulations that they have that. I remember seeing this comment come through, and it brought a smile to my face, because this is why. I mean, look, it's no mystery. If you own an Amazon business, you've probably been approached by at least one aggregator, if not multiple aggregators. You can go direct. I know a lot of people do. So why would you use Quiet Light? Well, one big reason is to create competition for your listing and to be able to maximize that price. I can tell you without any hesitation, aggregators love sellers who come directly to them. And it's not because they hate brokers, it's because they know that they have to pay more through a brokerage.
Absolutely.
Because the broker will identify, what do we like to call it? The ignorance discount, the things that the sellers may not know. And they also get to operate in a non-competitive environment. One thing that's been lost this year, I think, pretty significantly this year, is that people think to sell an Amazon business, you have to go to an aggregator. We've been selling Amazon businesses before the aggregators were formed, right? And a large percentage of our deals are still being sold to non-aggregators. There are more buyers out there than the aggs. There's quite a few more out there than just those. So why would you not open yourself up to the universe of buyers to get that competitive pressure on the price to be able to get you a deal that really makes a lot of sense? And frankly, I just thinking about it from a seller standpoint, selling to an aggregator can be a great deal. Obviously, we do a lot of deals with the aggregators. I like a lot of the people personally there. But I know one of the last transactions I did, we sold a business that was run by a guy who was employing a bunch of retired people in a warehouse to do some very light assembly. He sold to a woman who had a disabled son, and she was going to run the business with her son. And he was so happy to have that sort of an arrangement. That's not to say that we're all doing this for the feel good feelings of this. Obviously, the deal terms have to be there, but there's a universe of buyers out there. I guess that's the point. So when an aggregator says that, it brings a smile to my face, and I'm sorry that we don't give them a full week's exclusive access to a deal before bringing them to market.
Yeah, and shame on anybody that is, because they're not doing the right thing for the client, the seller of the business, the one that's, risked everything, bootstraps that, grounded it out for several years before trying to cash in and make where they make most of their money, which is at the closing. And then they go ahead and list it with an advisor, a brokerage firm that's just going to take the easy route and give it to an aggregator a week in advance.
We've been criticized for this for a long time, Joe. There's a certain company out there that turned out to be a Ponzi scheme. I'm sure people know who I'm talking about if you followed the industry, who once complained to us that we weren't giving them access to deals like the other brokerages were. Other brokerages were setting up specific feeds for them so that they could see deals before they came to market. And that just wasn't of interest to us. Turned out to be a good thing that we didn't do that, because the company was not legit. So it's not something that we will do. Obviously, we will take deals to buyers privately when we know that there's a good fit and good pricing leverage for our clients. But it's got to be client focused first, not buyer focused. We want good deals for our buyers. We want to help our buyers, but the sellers deserve some representation, and so that's where we are.
Let's talk about the inner workings of Quiet Light for a minute. Right, things have changed a little bit in 2021. They'll change going forward as well. I transitioned from brokering and training new advisors to, I don't know what.
Yeah, what do you do? You do a podcast, so there's that.
That plus 50 to 60 other podcasts in the last 6 months. In our team, you, me, we've got a CTO, a CMO, might be bringing on a COO. We're transitioning into more of an organization where we have to have C-suite executives and a team to support this now team of 15 advisors. Well, we've got 14 now. We've got Chris Duty joining us in January, and then a couple of more, hopefully by the end of Q1. We've developed a back-end system through Advisor Central that Brian's been building for us that really is taking us to a new level as far as maturity and being grown-ups. You and I joke about that now and then. It's like, okay, we're actually grown-ups, right? It's not what we were doing 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. Do you find yourself enjoying that challenge? Do you think that, when we're doing a billion in closed transactions, that we're going to have a seamless, pathway to it because, we're working so hard with the C-suite level of executives, or is the road really bumpy sometimes? And I ask this question because we've got people in the audience that are listening that had these same wonderful growing pains in the last 12 months. And they're wondering who else is going through it and how they're getting through it.
I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I think you and I are so good at business that it's been just this smooth, easy transition without any problems whatsoever. I mean, it's been great.
That's true.
Yeah, no, I abhor complexity. At the end of the day, I really do. I abhor things that are more complex than they need to be. But the nature of an organization as it grows is you have to add certain layers of complexity in order to bring things back to simplicity, right? So that's what happens. You start out with a simple organization, try and keep things as simple as you can. You grow, and that starts to break down into kind of a complex mess. So you add layers to be able to bring it back to simplicity. And that's what I hope to continue to do with Quiet Light. I love the fact that we have closed $250 million in transactions with a team of around 30 people total. That includes vendors, like key vendors, and contractors helping us out. So not even, direct, first level family sort of people in the Quiet Light team. I think that's awesome. We've lifted a pretty big boulder here with a pretty light team. I think, moving forward, growing a business, anyone who's grown a business, to 30 to 50 people in general, there's growing pains in there. Communication starts to be a little bit more of a difficulty. Culture is the biggest thing that we want to make sure we retain. I have really strong feelings about this. I'm sending out a message to the team, actually, probably today or tomorrow, Monday rather, on this, and that is that I believe all the work that we do, like we said earlier, it shouldn't be growth for the sake of growth's sake. I know some people have that mentality, and that's totally fine. I don't. I want work to be something that enables us to live a good life. That's really what I want to be able to see. Entrepreneurialism gives us the opportunity for that. And I think that's so cool. I value my time above anything else, right? I value it above money. I value it above reputation and anything else. My time is the most important thing to me. And that's because I want to spend that time in things that I feel are bigger than life. And that's where my values are rooted. My hope, Joe, is that as we grow, we can afford that opportunity for a lot of people. The thing that excites me the most, and the thing that also frightens me the most, the thing that excites me the most, I love providing incomes and salaries and payments to people that enable them to live a life that is somewhat free, financially free. That's a really, really cool benefit. The thing that scares me the most is always being able to continue that, right? And I don't want to ever let people down with that. That's where I take the burden on. So, but it's been a good year for that. We've been able to add some great people to the team. Deanna's been a wonderful addition. Beth has been a fantastic addition, working on our conferences and events. Alex recently joined the team to really up our video game, and we're super excited about what he has to bring to the table. Rochelle has been helping us out on editing. There's just a host of people. Sam, a lot of the people on the marketing team that Chris has brought on have been just absolute rock stars. Ian, who's done a lot of our content writing. We can go down this list, and every single person that I look at, I just think, wow, we're lucky to have them, and I'm so honored when we're able to provide them an income that hopefully allows them to live their life outside Quiet Light as well. I don't know if that makes sense or if I'm just pontificating.
No. That's, you say it so well, right? It makes me want to work at this company, and I happen to have that privilege. So it's why people stick around, right? We've lost one advisor since 2012, and it's only because he had an amazing opportunity ahead of him. And he actually sent me a text over Thanksgiving wishing me a happy Thanksgiving. That would be Darren Harden, folks. He was a good guy. Didn't stick around long enough. He would have been one of the great ones. Maybe he'll retire from the. What is he doing? He's building self-storage units. Had an incredible opportunity to do that for a national builder.
Anybody out there that follows like the business trends knows that's a huge space.
It is.
If you know what you're doing.
Yeah, and he does. Well, listen, man, I think we can wrap this up. People, thank you for listening to us for the last 35 minutes. We appreciate you. We appreciate you listening. We appreciate you helping QuietLight, with our brand and reputation, supporting us through selling businesses through us, buying businesses through us, telling your friends and family all about us. It means a lot. We're here to help you, and in the process of doing that, you're helping us as well. So thanks very much. Have an amazing 2022, and we'll come back and do this again next year.